on that note, I want to transition back. We've touched here and there, scattered a little bit about the innovation side. But now I would be remiss if I did not bring up Trackzilla. I wish I had more of a manly voice, a more radio manly voice. I probably need to for this podcast, but you guys have got to talk about Trackzilla because that just gives me some nostalgia with that kind of name. Yeah. We've got the Mez Master, Trackzilla, the Wall Master. Talk about Trackzilla and tell me high level, and then
Tom, you got to take
and we could go from there. Yeah,
sure. So once again, to bring context to Trackzilla, and what is Trackzilla?
Yeah, what is Trackzilla?
It is a massive forklift that can reach 100 feet high with a net load of 10,000 pounds.
To me, it's
at
like
100 feet.
Yeah, it's like a crane and a forklift had a baby, right? You know, that's what I envision. So
to bring context in our panelization process, which we've already touched on, historically that's been done by a crane. Mm-hmm. So we would set the panels with a crane. Well, there's a lot of constraints when it comes to having a panel table and a crane. All of your product has to be moved out of the path, out ahead of it, and you're very limited on the footprint that you can operate in effectively. Okay, so I'll kind of walk through the generations of our panelization process to bring relevance to Trackzilla. So we started with a crane, and you can do a relatively large panel with a crane, but there's a lot of constraints with the sequencing of it. Okay, and then we developed what we call the Mez Master, which is a forklift that can take a panel, okay, but it can reach, we use a 2450, which means it has a capacity of 24,000 pounds, and it can reach 50 feet high. So once we started doing buildings with mezzanines in them, multiple levels, then we would use a blend of the Mez Master and a crane, okay? And after every job that we do, we have a lessons learned meeting. And it's like, okay, what could we do to make this better? And it's like, wow, man, wouldn't that be nice if we could just set all the panels with a forklift because they're so much faster and more efficient. And so it's like, hey, let's build a bigger forklift. So once again, it was kind of a pie in the sky, fly into the moon moment.
Right.
Like, oh, that's impossible. But it's like, no, how would it be if we could set these panels at 100 feet high? Because on some of those Amazon prototypes, we would set the high roof and level 5 with a crane, and then the lower mezzanine levels with the Mez Master. And there was some inefficiencies there. And so it's like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And at first it's like, there's no way. But we got our innovation team together and they started sketching some stuff up, and we reached out to Extreme Manufacturing and they thought it was a pretty audacious goal as well. Anyway, so it just kind of evolved. And I want to say it was like from 2 years by the time there was a scratch on a napkin, this little sketch, and just an absolute far out idea to where it's actually setting a panel out in the field.
And this thing's a beast. So I'm going to try to describe it, and you can fill in the gaps where I do a horrible job here. But like, you imagine for our listeners, you have 4 tracks, triangular tracks, right? Ginormous, that are what? How tall?
Probably
from the
6
ground?
6 feet tall.
Yeah. And these things can do a 360, right? And then there's just this giant crane on it that can grab these things, this orange beast, this bright thing. If you're listening, just Google Trackzilla and it'll come up. You can try Google BZI Trackzilla. And this thing is just such a cool machine. It's like every little boy who's obsessed with tractors, it's like dream of having like a toy Trackzilla. You guys should probably look into that to further diversify your portfolio. Is creating Trackzilla toys for children. But